Hello and welcome to Talk Truth. My name is Corey Huntsberger. I've got my father, Alan Huntsberger, in the studio, and Dad, I'm excited about our guest. Let's bring him on right away. We got Mr. John Carpay. John, welcome back to the show.
Hey, glad to be with you, gentlemen.
Well, glad to have you. There's so much going on in Canada. I mean, I've got 2 pages full of things that you guys are at the Justice Center are working on, and I'm sure there's more than that. But I mean, we wanted to talk about a couple bills, Bill C9, Bill C8. Let's start with Bill C9. This is, there was an article, I think you wrote it. Did you write this at the Epoch Times? I mean, fantastic article. Very scary and very unclear. And that's seems to be a pattern we're following, that the bills that they're proposing are very broad and not very specific. So it could be twisted and turned any way you want to turn it. But I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor. Can you talk to us a little bit about C9?
So it is called the Combating Hate Act. The Justice Minister, Sean Fraser, has been very clever to present it as protecting access to houses of worship. And he says that this law will criminalize intimidating people as they're making their way into their synagogue or church or temple or mosque. And it sounds great, but those laws are already on the books. It's a criminal code offense. If you're trying to get from point A to point B, whether you're trying to get into a house of worship or your car, if I physically obstruct you, that's criminal code offense right there. It's mischief, section 430. It's what Chris Barber and Tamara Leach were convicted of, mischief. It's that interfering with the lawful use and enjoyment of property. So it's already a crime to obstruct anybody trying to get into a church, and it's already a crime to threaten people. Somebody's getting, any kind of uttering threats is a criminal code offense. Now, the minister, this is interesting. This is very political legislation. He says he's bringing this in because of the rising, he mentioned anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, transphobia, homophobia. He mentions 4 things. Says nothing about churches being burned to the ground in Canada. And there have been dozens of churches burned to the ground in recent years. And in addition to that, dozens more that have been vandalized. He says nothing about the burning of Christian churches, but we've got to have this protecting access to houses of worship and other venues in order to combat anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, transphobia. So it duplicates existing criminal code provisions. So it's not harmful, but it's also not necessary, because it's already a crime to obstruct people or prevent people from accessing their house of worship. The other thing the bill does is it doubles sentences imposed when a crime is committed if the judge determines that hate is a motivating factor. So let's say you robbed a convenience store, you went in there with a knife, a gun, a baseball bat, and you said to the clerk, give me all the cash, otherwise I'll kill you. If on top of that, you called him a bunch of racist names, okay, the maximum penalty could increase from 2 years to 5 years, or from 5 years to 10 years, or from 10 years to 14 years, or from 14 years to life imprisonment, depending on whether the crime was shoplifting or assault or murder. So you've got increased sentences where the judge decides that hate is a motivating factor, but like hugely increased, right? From maximum 5-year prison sentence becomes a maximum 10-year prison sentence. So that's kind of scary when you can spend twice as much time in jail just because a judge decided that your crime was, motivated in part by hatred, not just greed for money to get the money out of the till, but if in addition to that, if you expressed hatred towards the ethnicity or the religion of the convenience store owner, you could get twice as much time in prison.
I want to ask you about the bill allows Canadians to express disdain and dislike without worrying about facing criminal charges, yet Canadians must be careful not to possess illegal emotions that involve detestation or vilification. It's not hate to discriminate, humiliate, hurt, offend, and dislike people. It is hate to detest and vilify people. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, it's, because I agree, we don't want to hate people. You know what I mean? And you can tell the people that really viciously, you know what I mean, when they're aggressive and they got this hate going on. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Well, they're twisting themselves into contortions, and they're doing triple backflips trying to define hate, and you can't legally define an emotion. So they think that they've made progress by adopting some language from a Supreme Court ruling from a number of years ago in the Whatcott case, where the Supreme Court also looked silly trying to say, well, hate, disdain and dislike is not hatred. So if you intensely dislike somebody, that's okay. You're not hating them. But hatred arises when the emotion crosses over into detestation and vilification. So dislike and disdain is okay. Detestation and vilification is not okay. And the court also said to mock, ridicule, offend, discredit, or hurt someone's feelings is not hate. So you can mock, ridicule, discredit, and offend people. That's not necessarily hate speech. But like whatever they say, hate, like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder. Like today's October the 7th, and there are some, I heard of a student group at some Canadian university, they are celebrating the October 7th, 2023 massacre of Israeli civilians. Are these people hateful? I mean, the three of us could look at that and go, oh yeah, they hate Jews. Well, they themselves might say, no, we don't hate Jews. We believe that, Palestine is illegally occupied by Israel, blah, 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 blah. And we've got our political views about Palestinian liberation, and we don't have any hate. I would say only God knows who's got hate in their heart or not, right? The rest of us are just taking a guess. So that's really the problem with hate speech laws is it gives a lot of power to judges to make these very subjective assessments and say, well, this is hateful, that's not hateful, when at the end of the day, you don't really know for sure what's going on in somebody else's heart.
Yeah. Only God does, right, Dad?
Right. It's interesting how we call hate speech when there's a thing is hate speech. There's free speech, and then there's not free speech. And not free speech is hate speech. In other words, you're not free to express yourself. You can only, do what they want you to do and say what they want you to say. And if they disagree with you, they'll throw you in jail or throw a fine on you or whatever. And, it's pretty sad when you begin to see how our country has, in the last 156 years, come from a nation that declared it was a Christian nation to a nation that doesn't even understand the supremacy of God and the rule of law. It's really sad. And so how long are we going to wallow around in this kind of situation before we, as God's people, as 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, get down and pray and humble ourselves and turn from our wicked ways? Will we finally get to the place where God can heal this land? Because that's the only recommendation or remedy that we have is God. That's it. And unless that happens, we're toast.
Yeah. John, you mentioned about judges, but this bill goes further. Bill C-9 makes existing laws worse by empowering police to use the criminal code to impose their own subjective beliefs about what a police officer personally feels is hateful. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I mean, we've seen, the cops have not been the best because they're down on the ground, they're getting yelled at, they're getting screamed at, they're emotional. They try not to be, but this is a problem, right? We're losing protections now, and it's kind of expanding. Can you tell us about that?
Well, currently, for almost every crime that's committed, whether it's shoplifting or murder, it's the local police, the local Crown prosecutors in Ottawa, Calgary, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Halifax, whatever. Local police, local Crown prosecutors decide whether to prosecute an offense or not. the hate speech laws, right, which have been on the books for decades now, they actually require the approval of the Attorney General to proceed. And so there's kind of a sober second thought. There's a review process. So if the local police and Crown prosecutors in a particular city want to prosecute somebody for hate speech, they have to run that by the Attorney General or Justice Minister. So there is a sober second thought in place. What this Bill C9 does is it removes that sober second thought and just lets the local police and Crowns decide whether to prosecute for hate speech or not. And this is where you get into the subjective territory. Within the past 2 years, there was a rally in Calgary. I think it was like a pro-Palestine, anti-Israel rally. And there's a guy was arrested for chanting, quote, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," end of quote. There's a perfect example. The three of us would probably see it as a hateful slogan, but other people would say, no, it's not hateful. It's just political. It's talking about what country should exist in the Middle East. So I think we're better off without the hate speech legislation, even though it's very offensive to hear something like, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." Well, it's offensive. So this is the problem. The other dangerous thing about hate speech laws is that to those who hate truth, truth sounds like hate. And so what happens with hate speech laws is people can be speaking truth, but if you hate the truth, then truth sounds like hate. So it just leaves way too much in the subjective assessments of police officers and Crown prosecutors. And I think we're better off to say you're committing a crime if you punch somebody, push somebody, shove somebody, kill somebody, assault somebody. That's a crime. If you say something that somebody else finds to be hateful, well, so be it. Anyway, all of that said, these laws are on the books, and Bill C9 makes them worse than what they already are.
What if they said death to Canada, which we've seen protests and them saying death to Canada as they burn the Canadian flag? Is that considered hate speech?
Well, it should be, because the hate speech provisions prohibit the willful promotion of hatred against a group identified by nationality, ethnicity, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression. So it's a long list. By the way, it excludes hate speech against some groups is fine. If you wanted to say that bankers or lawyers or should be put to death, or people that didn't get injected with COVID vaccine, you can promote hatred against those groups, but not on the basis of race or ethnicity. So to say death to Canadians or death to Canada, it sounds like that should be a hate speech offense that could be prosecuted.
Let's talk about C8. Because when we first, before we started recording, I was talking about C9. You're like, C8's even worse. Tell us a little bit about C8.
So this is the cybersecurity bill, and it empowers the federal cabinet to kick individual Canadians off the internet without warning, without notice, without a warrant, without court oversight, kind of like the freezing of bank accounts in 2022, where you suddenly find out your bank account's frozen, and apart from starting a court action, there's not much you can do about it immediately. And even if you did have an extra 100,000 sitting in the bank to pay for a court action, the court action would drag on for years. So Bill C8 gives the federal cabinet the power to kick individual Canadians off the internet by giving the federal government control over every company in Canada that provides internet service, telephone service, anything non-paper basically is telecommunications. So websites, podcasts, videocasts, telephones, internet, anything that's not paper is telecommunications. And so if you're a telecommunications services provider under Bill C8, so you're a company that provides internet access, or you provide email services, you enable people to send out emails. If you're a provider of any of these services, the federal government can order a company to kick certain individual, whoever they want, they can kick you off the internet. They could kick the three of us off the internet. The order itself can be secret, and it can say that this order is to remain secret. So you would be violating the order if you told anybody that you were kicked off the internet. The penalties are up to $50,000 a day for individuals, up to $15 million per day for businesses, for companies. The pretext is national security, public safety. And so the public safety minister says we got to protect Canadians from hackers and fraudsters and cyber terrorists and foreign state actors. We got to protect our telecommunication system from bad people, from terrorists, which I agree with. Everybody agrees with. Yes, we have to protect our telecommunication systems, right? Like nobody can disagree with the pretext, right? To public safety, public security, national security, public safety, and so on. Where they go off the rails is by saying, okay, so in order to protect our telecommunications systems in Canada, we have to give the federal cabinet the power to kick individual Canadians off the internet and to order every company. They have these very broad powers. This is what's so dangerous about it. It's so broad and so undefined. They can order any company to do anything or to refrain from doing anything. It's literally that broad. The Bill C-8 says the federal cabinet can order companies to do anything or to refrain from doing anything. And so we're gonna be in a police state by Christmas. If Bill C-8 passes in its current form, Canada will be a police state by Christmas because the federal government will have near absolute, near total control over what Canadians can see and hear and read and view.
John, we like to give people hope. I know that's very...
Me too.
We love to give people hope. And again, like I said, I got lists and lists of cases that you're going through. And, you know, thank God for what you guys are doing there at the Justice Center. Where do we see any hope? Where do you see hope? Like, obviously Canada is following some kind of plan, lockdown, dystopian. It's fascinating, some of the decisions that they're making. What hope do you see? Are Canadians fighting back? Where do you see hope in all this?
Canada now has a much stronger freedom movement than what we did in 2019. Before lockdowns were imposed, I have met so many people in the last 5 years, since lockdowns were imposed in 2020, so 5.5 years ago, I have met so many Canadians who said that pre-lockdowns, they never followed the news, they never paid attention to laws passed by federal parliament or provincial legislature. They were not involved in the democratic process at all, not federally, not provincially, not municipally, not school board, totally apathetic and ignorant, uninformed citizens that were just, focused only on life and work and earning money and family, good things that you should be focused on, but they were totally not involved. And now we've got, compared to 2019, we've got a strong freedom movement of alert and awake citizens. And as long as people continue to speak out against tyranny, tyranny does not have the absolute control. The worst thing that can happen is when people are completely silent and nobody is speaking out anymore against tyranny. That's when it gets really bad. That's when you get full-on death camps, concentration camps, genocide. It's when there's no more voices in the public square that are objecting. But what we've got now, I mean, compared to most countries in the world, we still have a lot of freedom of expression in Canada, and people can speak up. And so another piece of good news is that politicians are followers, not leaders. So if we change public opinion, if we change the culture, politicians are going to follow that, right? Like politicians will never impose central bank digital currency on Canadians, right? Where cash is completely outlawed and all of our financial transactions are electronic digits sitting on somebody's computer. So central bank digital currency can never be brought in if 90% or even 70%, 60% of Canadians are strongly opposed to central bank digital currency. It's not going to happen. So it's up to us. We can educate ourselves and our neighbors and continue to speak out. And we keep the tyranny at bay simply by speaking out. And we have that power.
Wow. Great point. See, look at you. You find the gold. You found the silver lining. I agree with you 100%, more than ever. And I think it's a good point. Al and I have known this about Canada for a long, long time. We've got feet, in the U.S. and in Canada, so we got a pretty good worldview look at what's going on. It always frustrated me that Canadians couldn't see. You're right. The convoy did wake a lot of people up. COVID woke a lot of people up. More than ever, I think now we've got voices out there that we've never had in the last 4 years. Just 4 years ago, they just popped up. So good point. I love it. You are absolutely right. And I think Canadians will continue to push forward with the information that they have. And now as time goes on, we're being proven right. Everything we said 4 or 5 years ago now is showing up, in the courts that we were right, whether it's, like about mRNA or whatever, the vaccine or whatever. So you're right. It's exposing itself. Light is being shines in the darkness recently. And I appreciate that. I'm glad you see the silver lining because I can't imagine what you have to go through when you see all it would depress me, all the cases you've got to defend.
I don't have the chapter and verse, but there's a verse in one of the Gospels where Christ says, quote, "Be of good cheer." So you just got to keep on going. There's a saying you've probably heard, do your best and God will take care of the rest.
Yeah.
So we just need to do our best. We're not really responsible ultimately for all of the outcomes, but as long as we do our best, right? So we need to keep on doing what we're doing. Speak truth to power, truth talk.
Yeah.
It's just continue to speak the truth, and the truth always vanquishes the lie. It just takes too long, right?
Yeah.
A lie can make its way halfway around the world while truth is still putting its pants on and tying its shoelaces. So lies have speed, but truth has endurance. So if we keep on speaking the truth is going to prevail. But maybe in the short run, some of these lies, they gain a lot of traction in the short run. But if we keep on speaking truth, it's going to vanquish the lie. We just got to keep on going and not quit. Like the worst thing to do is give up and quit, right?
Yeah.
So just keep on going.
Agreed.
We'll win in the end.
Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much for everything you're doing, and we'll definitely have you back.
Have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Well, it's great having John on. Let's do our verse, Dad. I think people need it. The earth and everything in it, the world and its inhabitants, belong to the Lord, for he laid its foundation on the seas and established it on the rivers. Psalm 24, 1 and 2. Important verse, especially when we're facing all these bills and censorship and kicking you off the internet. And that could be hate speech. What you and I talk about on a day-to-day basis could be hate speech, which is not true because we don't have hate in our heart. We're just trying to help people find the light, find truth, find God. Right, Dan?
Yeah. That verse that John was quoting from is John 16:33. And of course, he was using the King James, which says, "Be of good cheer." But the NIV that I use, it says, "I have told you these," Jesus is talking, "I have told you these things so that you may have peace. You will have suffering in this world. Be courageous. I have conquered the world."
Yeah.
And I think that that's where it all boils down to. You keep listening to what the government's doing and you can get very depressed and, you just lose all hope and what are we going to do? But God is in control. The earth and everything in it, the world and its inhabitants belong to the Lord. And our country was founded on the supremacy of God and the rule of law. So we just need to honestly know that God has not forgotten us. He is there all the time. Reach out to him. you and I can have perfect peace in our hearts, even though there's turmoil and all kinds of upheaval going on in the world around us.
I like the apostles. Was it Paul that's like, be it for you to say, I can't speak out, can't say anything, but, I'm going to follow the Lord, right? What's that scripture?
That's Peter.
Oh, Peter.
In Acts chapter 4.
My encyclopedia right here, everybody. Yeah. Those words ring through my head when I hear this kind of stuff. I mean, this doesn't change anything for you and I. We're going to continue to move forward and continue to speak truth because that's what we're called to do, right?
Yeah, in Acts chapter 4, verse 8, it says, Peter was filled with the Holy Spirit and said, rulers, people, if we're examined today of the good deed that we have done to this stable hand by means that he was healed, let it be known to all of you and to all the people of Israel by the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And then, of course, they were threatened, forbidden to say anything more about Jesus. And then that's when Peter said, whether it's right in the sight of God to listen to us rather than to God, you decide, for we're unable to stop speaking about Christ. So you can't shut me up. You can make all the laws. You can make all the laws in the world. You can say, that's wrong. You can't say that about God. You can't say that about what's in the Bible. It's like, well, sorry, I can't stop. I can't help myself.
We forbid you.
Yeah, well, forbid me or not forbid me. I'm going to keep saying it no matter what.
Yeah, no, I know you will. And you're also going to say it through books because we're giving away a free book. It's called Living in Truth. It's a devotional study on 1 Peter chapter 1 and 2. It's yours absolutely free. Go to our website, gotalktruth.com, click on resources, fill out the form. We'll send one to you in the mail. This is all part of it. They can't stop you writing your books, Dad. I know that for a fact because I can't stop you writing books. You're already on to another one. This one's brand new. He's on to another one, everybody. But if you want to say thank you to our ministry for being on the air, if you're grateful for us, we know we're grateful for you to keep this kind of truth and conversation on the air. We want you to invite you to be part of our Thanksgiving offering. It's a chance for you to join our mission and say, guys, I support you. Keep going. You can go to our website, gotalktruth.com, click on donate. Many different ways to give digitally that way, which is super important, especially with Canada Post having 2 strikes in 1 year. That cripples ministries like ours. So if you'd like to be part of our Thanksgiving offering and do it digitally, you can go to our website, gotalktruth.com, click on donate. If you still want to try through the mail, you can. You can make your gift payable to Talk Truth and send it to 246 Stewart Green Southwest, Suite 3260, Calgary, Alberta, T3H 3C8. And in the U.S., you can send it to 4904 South Power Road, Suite 103-152, Mesa, Arizona 85212. All right, Dad, we're out of time. We'll see you guys later.
Love you.